Over the past few months, as I've been studying billionaires, I've been asking myself a lot of deep questions. And I've been asking myself, how do billionaires become the way they are? Right? I've been trying to put together different patterns to decipher what it is that makes someone a billionaire. How does someone build a massive company? Because obviously that's one of my goals. That's what I want to achieve. I want to get to that level where I have, a company that's worth tens of billions, hundreds of billions, $1 trillion. And I've been trying to really just look at all the pieces, all the patterns, put it all together and come up with a couple different principles. Now, there's two different things I want to talk about in this video, two different principles for building a $1 billion company. Two principles. Now, the first principle is 20-year focus. There's some billionaires that created these $1 billion companies really quickly, like Mark Zuckerberg, for example, in some of these tech companies. And there's a difference between having $1 billion in revenue and having $1 billion valuation. You could have $50 million or less in revenue and have $1 billion valuation. There are companies out there that do not have that much revenue. They have $10 million in revenue, yet they're valued at $1 billion. I know that sounds crazy, and there's some logic behind that. There's some equations investors use to determine that valuation. So it's not just like fake money, although it sort of is fake money because they haven't generated that in revenue, but that's besides the point. When it comes to actually having, say, $1 billion in revenue, what does it take? Now, 20-year focus, 20-year laser focus on one thing. And that one thing has to be the right thing. It has to be the right vehicle. Now, I want to paint a picture for you for a second to really kind of illustrate the difference between different vehicles, right? The difference between different vehicles and how to choose the right vehicle so that you have the highest leverage. Now, if you want to go up, you can either go up by walking stairs, going on an elevator, going on a hot air balloon, going on an airplane, or taking a rocket ship. All of them are going to go up, right? You're going to go up, and you're going to go up at different speeds, and you're going to go up with a different amount of leverage. Now, when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, what he noticed that the internet was growing by, I think it was 2,400% a year. It was either 1,400% or 2,400% a year. Forget the exact number. It's one of those two numbers. He saw that as he was working, and at the time he was working at a financial company and investment firm. It was Goldman Sachs or something like that. But he saw that the internet was growing by 2,400% a year, or whatever that number was. It was a very high number, right? And he said to himself, anything growing at that percentage rate is something that's going to be around for a long time, right? It's something that's here to stay if it's growing that quickly. So anything growing that quickly is something that if you get involved in, you're going to grow up. I mean, you're going to grow, maybe not at that rate, but you're going to grow pretty fast if you embark on a journey within that thing that's already growing that fast, right? It's like a passenger hopping on a rocket ship, right? The rocket ship is already going up, right? So if you look at where the future is going, and you can look at trends today, you can look at different charts. One of my friends, George Blue, he created this chart to basically prove that his business is going to become worth billions of dollars in the future. He looked at a couple different charts. He looked at a chart that said people's attention span is dropping, and it's consistently been dropping over time. And he looked at this chart that said the cost of conversations is lowering. And he looked at this chart that said the preference of conversations is going towards text. And by looking at all these charts, he decided to start an SMS, a text message marketing company. And there's lots of different text message marketing companies today that are already worth a couple $1 billion. And he decided to get into that space because he saw these different charts that pointed towards this continuing to grow towards the future. And this is not that hard of a thing to do, right? So for example, if you start an artificial intelligence company today, 20 years from now, you're almost guaranteed, unless someone monopolizes the space or unless someone creates some brand new technology. Obviously, there's different variables, so you can't be absolutely certain, right? But if you want to minimize your risk and maximize your gain, investing in something like artificial intelligence is a way to go, because you know the future is going in that direction, right? Or some type of green technology, like people are trying to find more energy efficient ways that are better for the environment in all different industries. That is going to continue to grow. Land is becoming more scarce, and that's going to be true as the population of the earth increases. That's gonna continue to be true. If you know something is going to continue to be true 20 years from now, that's the thing you want to bet on and focus on for 20 years. So what is something that you're super passionate about that you can bet on today, focus on for 20 years, that you know, or that you're with a high degree of certainty? It might not be 100%. Nothing in life is 100%. You can't guarantee anything 20 years from now. You really can't guarantee anything 20 years from now. But what has the highest probability, given the current trajectory, to continue to grow at a fast rate for the next 20 years? And if you ask yourself, what is that thing? And this takes research, this takes reflection. This is not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to determine the thing that you want to stick to for the next 20 years. And it's even harder to stick to it for 20 years. Almost no one can do this, right? It's incredibly freaking difficult. If you someone asked, I think it was Bill Gates' dad. It was either Bill Gates' dad or it was Warren Buffett's dad or someone in their family. But someone asked both of them, if you had to give someone the one thing, one word that would sum up what allowed you to become who you are today, one thing that allowed you to amass the $100 billion they're both worth, give or take, both of them wrote down focus as their one word. Focus would be the number one key to success for Bill Gates and for Warren Buffett. And it makes sense. It makes complete sense. Anything that you stick to for 40 years, 50 years, 100, dude, if you stuck to something for 70 years, of course you're going to beat everyone. Of course, how can someone beat you if you get better every day in the same arena, in the same circle of competence for 20 years, in something that's growing, right? Because if you pick the wrong thing, if you pick something that's, if you pick like coal mining or something, the market size is going down, right? I mean, maybe the market size is not necessarily going down, but the demand is going down, right? People are demanding new types of energy, right? So that would be an example of something that if you focused on for 20 years would not be the best thing for you to focus on, right? So if you really want to win, and I struggle with this too, because I have different companies. I recently started an AI company, but I know that I know what I should be doing is getting rid of everything and sticking to one thing. That's what I know. I know that's what I should be doing, but instead I'm running all these different companies, and I'm working on ways to make so I don't have to spend any time or maybe an hour a week on all of them. I have teams that do most things, but I still have to think of them. I still have to put out fires every once in a while, and that's taking away focus from the thing that could be my one thing, right? Which is going to be this AI company, which is my most recent company. But my point is, if you can find that one thing, focus on it for 20 years, make sure you're picking the one thing that is a trajectory of growth, that you can project out to 20 years from now and say, this thing is going to continue to grow for the next 20 years. It has to be something you're deeply passionate about. Because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to stick to it for 20 years. And if you do stick to it for 20 years, you're going to hate your life. You're going to hate yourself at the end of that 20 years, right? It has to be the right thing, something you're deeply passionate about, something you love. And it has to be growing at an insane trajectory. And if you can do that, I would say that those two things are the two things that create the highest probability of building $1 billion company, right? Highest probability. There's many other factors, and I'll record some more videos, talk about some of the other things I've learned from all these different books recommended by billionaires. I've been reading half a book a day. All the books I've been reading have been on billionaires' recommended book lists, because obviously they've made a massive impact on the richest people in the world, and they recommended them. It's a good thing to read. Use a website called mostrecommendedbooks.com. Use a site called thriftbooks.com. Get recently bought like 20 books for $100, so it's an insane deal for buying a lot of books really quickly. And I taught myself how to speed read, and that's what I've been doing every single day for the past, about a year now, reading half a book a day. And that's 2 of my takeaways. So I'll record some other videos talking about some other tips. Let me know some video topics down below, and thanks for watching.